Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're jumping right in, looking at something pretty fundamental to our digital lives. Passive Optical LAN, or POL.
That's right. We've got our hands on the Global Passive Optical LAN Poll Market Report 2025 from Cognitive Market Research.
And our mission really is to unpack it,
Huh.
see what's happening with this network tech right now in 2025, and crucially, where it's headed.
Exactly. And just quickly, for anyone maybe less familiar, POL is essentially the next step for local networks. Think office buildings, campuses, using fiber optics.
Instead of the old copper wires.
Right. And the big advantages are, well, speed, loads more bandwidth, and it's much less bothered by electrical interference. It's the quiet workhorse behind a lot of modern connectivity.
Okay, so let's get the big numbers out there. What's the global picture for POL in 2025?
The report puts the current global market size at USD 44,581.5 million. So roughly $44.5 billion.
$44.5 billion. Okay, that's substantial. But the projection, that's where it really gets interesting, doesn't it?
It really does. By 2033, they're forecasting it to reach, wait for it, USD 230,537.51 million.
Wow, over $230 billion.
Yeah.
That's more than 5 times the current size.
Yeah, it represents a compound annual growth rate, a CAGR of 22.80% between 2025 and 2033.
A CAGR of nearly 23% year after year. That's phenomenal growth.
It really signals a major shift, doesn't it? Organizations are clearly going all in on fiber. And this report, it's based on solid groundwork looking back from 2021, estimating 2025, and then projecting forward.
Okay, so where is this growth happening? The regional breakdown was fascinating. North America leads the pack right now. Yeah.
It does. For 2025, North America holds the biggest share, over 40% of the global market.
That a dollar value.
That's about USD 12,928.64 million, with a TGR projected at 21.1%. Still very strong growth.
And within North America, the U.S. is the giant.
Absolutely. The U.S. market is estimated at USD 10,200.69 million for 2025, growing at 20.9% annually. Big drivers there are existing fiber infrastructure investment and, of course, the 5G rollout.
Makes sense. What about Canada and Mexico?
Canada's sitting at about USD 1,551.4 million, but with a slightly higher CAGR, actually 21.9%. Seems government broadband programs and cloud adoption are giving it a boost.
Interesting. And Mexico?
Mexico comes in at USD 11,156.5 million, also with strong growth, 21.6% CAGR.
Okay, so North America is big, but that global CAGR of nearly 23% suggests others are growing fast too. Europe.
Europe's a major player, too. Over 30% market share in 2025. That translates to roughly USD 10,699.56 million.
And their growth rate.
Pretty much in line with North America, a TGR of 21.5%.
The report breaks down Europe quite a bit, doesn't it? Which countries stand out?
Yeah, it does. Germany's the largest market there, actually around USD 2,118.5 million with 21.7% growth. The UK is close behind, about USD 1,787.5 million, but growing slightly faster at 22.3%.
And France, Italy.
France is around USD 984 million, 20.7% growth. Italy, about USD 920 million, 20.9% growth. Russia's also significant, USD 1.6 billion or so, but slightly slower growth at 20.5%.
Yeah, there are others listed, Spain, Sweden, Denmark.
Right, Spain around 877 million, Sweden 331 million, Denmark 224 million, all showing CAGRs between 20 and 22%, roughly. Switzerland, Luxembourg, too.
It seems pretty widespread across Europe. Any key policy drivers mentioned?
Yes, the European Commission's Digital Decade policy gets a specific mention. It's pushing hard for high-speed internet across the board, which definitely helps POL adoption.
Okay, North America, Europe, now Asia Pacific. This is where the growth story really takes off, right?
Absolutely. APAC holds about 23% of the market share in 2025, which is around USD 16,495.16 million. But the growth rate, a whopping 24.5% CAGR. That makes it the fastest growing region globally for POL.
24.5%. That's incredible. Who's leading the charge there? China, I assume?
China's definitely a huge part of it. Their market's estimated at USD 6,927.9 million in 2025, growing at 24.0%. Massive scale.
And Japan. South Korea.
Japan's around USD 2,276 million, 23% growth. South Korea, nearly USD 2 billion at 23.6% growth. Very solid numbers.
But the report highlighted India, didn't it?
Yeah, it certainly did. India's market is about USD 1,649.5 million, but its CAGR is the highest in APAC, maybe globally. It's 26.4%.
26.4%. Wow. What's fueling that kind of explosion across APAC?
Big government initiatives are key. The report mentions China's Digital China program and India's Digital India.
Hmm.
Both are pouring resources into building digital infrastructure.
So it's not just China and India, though.
No, not at all. You see really strong growth across Southeast Asia. As a bloc, they're hitting 25.3% CAGR. Australia's strong too, 23.8% growth. Singapore, Taiwan, they're all part of this rapid expansion.
It really feels like a region-wide commitment to digital transformation.
That's exactly what it looks like. Okay, moving on. South America.
Right, smaller share, but still growing nicely.
Yep, over 5% market share in 2025. That's about USD 1,694 million. And their CAGR is impressive too, 23.6%.
Who are the main players there? Brazil.
Brazil's the largest, around USD 725 million, with a 24.2% CAGR. Argentina follows, about USD 284 million, but growing even faster at 24.5%. Colombia, Peru, Chile are also showing solid growth in the 23-24% range.
Okay. And the Middle East and Africa? Smaller share still?
That's right. The Middle East is around 2% share, roughly USD 1,783 million in 2025. But look at the growth, 24.3% CAGR.
Almost as fast as APAC. Who's driving that?
Saudi Arabia is significant, over USD 627 million, growing at 24.6%. The UAE is also strong, around USD 367 million, 24.8% growth. Turkey's smaller but growing fast too, nearly 25% CAGR. Qatar, Egypt also contributing.
In Africa.
South Africa has the largest share there, about USD 345 million, growing at 24.4%. Nigeria is smaller but growing steadily at 23.7%. The rest of Africa combined makes up the majority, though.
It's quite a picture. This really isn't just a developed world thing, is it?
Not at all. The trend towards fiber, towards POL, is genuinely global, even if the starting points and exact speeds differ. The momentum is clear everywhere.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. We've seen the where. Now let's look at the what. The different parts of the POL market. Components first.
Sure. So for components in 2025, the biggest chunk is likely optical cables, which, makes sense.
Right. You need the actual fiber. It's the physical pathway.
Exactly, especially with everything needing high bandwidth and low latency now. Cloud, IoT, AI, big data. It all runs on that fiber.
But the report flagged something else as the fastest growing component, didn't it?
Did. Optical splitters. That's a really telling detail.
Why is that so significant? What do splitters do?
Well, splitters are essential for fiber to the premises, FTTP, or fiber to the home, FTTH. They basically take one fiber signal and split it out to multiple users or locations.
Ah, okay. So the fact they're growing fastest means we're seeing a big push to connect end users directly with fiber.
Precisely. As broadband demand just keeps climbing, the need for these splitters to efficiently distribute that fiber signal is just booming. The report also mentions ONT's optical network terminals.
That's the box at the user end, right?
Yep. And OLT's optical line terminals, which are the main equipment back at the central office or local exchange, they're all vital parts, but splitters are seeing the most rapid growth right now.
Interesting. Okay, what about the type of POL technology? The report mentioned GPON and EPON.
Right, GPO, and that's Gigabit Passive Optical Network, currently holds the largest slice of the market.
And that's what telcos often use.
Widely used, yeah, for delivering those super fast broadband packages. And it's also becoming really important for 5G backhaul, connecting the 5G cell towers back to the core network.
Okay, so GPON is the incumbent leader, but EPON.
EPON, Ethernet Passive Optical Network, is noted as growing very rapidly.
Why is that catching on so fast?
It seems to come down to cost effectiveness and efficiency. EPON can be a really good option for organizations needing fiber speeds, but maybe watching the budget a bit more closely.
How does it save costs?
Well, unlike some older fiber setups where each user might need a dedicated fiber strand all the way back, EPON uses what's called a point-to-multipoint architecture.
Using those splitters again.
Exactly. One fiber from the central point can serve multiple users via splitters. This just means less fiber overall, less complex installation, lower costs. Makes it attractive for broadband, business connections, even smart city networks.
Got it. GPON leading, EPON growing fast due to efficiency. Now let's look at where this tech is being applied. Applications.
Okay. For 2025, the application with the largest market share is identified as FITL, fiber in the loop.
Fiber in the loop. What does that typically cover?
Think broader connectivity needs, especially for things like smart cities and the Internet of Things. FITL is often the preferred choice there because it supports intelligent traffic systems, public Wi-Fi, smart grids, surveillance, all that kind of infrastructure.
Good. Again, there's a fastest growing segment here too.
Yes, and it's HFC, hybrid fiber coaxial cable.
Hybrid fiber coaxial. That sounds like mixing old and new.
That's exactly what it is. It's a clever way for, say, cable TV companies to upgrade their networks without replacing everything.
How does that work?
They basically push fiber deeper into their network, closer to the customer, but use the existing coaxial cable, the stuff already running into homes, for the final connection.
Ah, so they get a big performance boost from the fiber core, but avoid the cost and disruption of replacing every single coax cable.
Precisely. It's a cost-effective upgrade path, letting them offer much higher speeds over those existing coax lines. Very practical.
Makes sense. Any other applications mentioned?
Yeah, the report briefly touches on more traditional telecom uses like loop feeder, inter-office connections, and even mentions using P-wall principles to upgrade older systems like SONET and SDH, potentially offering better efficiency.
Okay, so we've covered the regions, the components, the types, the applications. What's really pushing this whole market forward so fast? The drivers.
Well, the most obvious one maybe is just the relentless demand for faster, more scalable networks. It's coming from everywhere.
Yeah, you can feel that. Faster streaming, more devices.
Absolutely. But it's also sectors like government and defense demanding high security and reliability. And healthcare, too. Think telemedicine, large imaging files, education needing robust networks for online learning. These are big drivers.
And you mentioned smart cities and IoT earlier.
Huge drivers. All those connected sensors, cameras, traffic lights. They need a powerful network underneath, and POL fits the bill really well. Plus, the general trend of just adopting more fiber globally is a fundamental push.
What about data centers?
Big time. The explosion in data means we need more and bigger data centers, hyperscale data centers, and they rely incredibly heavily on high-speed fiber interconnections. POL plays a role there.
And businesses adopting things like software-defined data centers.
That too. And just businesses generally upgrading their internal LANs to fiber. Plus, those government broadband initiatives we talked about, the digital decade in Europe, digital China, digital India, they create enormous demand.
And 5G.
Definitely. 5G needs dense fiber backhaul. You can't get those 5G speeds without a fast connection behind the tower.
Okay, what else? Industrial automation.
Yep. Factories getting smarter, needing high-speed, reliable connections. Cloud services, more businesses and individuals moving to the cloud drives network demand. Digital transformation projects backed by governments.
Fiber to the home rollouts continuing.
Exactly. And let's not forget the massive shift driven by the pandemic and its aftermath: remote work, online education scaling up, content streaming booming, all putting huge pressure on networks.
It's like a perfect storm of demand drivers, really.
It really is. A powerful combination of technology push and societal pull.
But it can't be all smooth sailing. Did the report mention any roadblocks? Restraints?
It did mention a couple of key ones. The first is the initial deployment cost. While POL can be cost-effective long-term, putting in that initial fiber infrastructure can be a significant upfront investment for some.
Okay, the initial price tag. Anything else?
Compatibility issues. Sometimes integrating shiny new POL technology with older existing network gear can be tricky. Making everything talk to each other smoothly can be a challenge.
Understandable. So, cost and integration hurdles. What about the companies actually making and selling this stuff? The competitive landscape.
The report gives a quick overview. It points to continuous innovation companies are pushing towards things like 50 gigabit PN, integrating the latest Wi-Fi standards like Wi-Fi 7, even using AI for network management.
So they're not standing still. Faster, smarter.
Exactly. And there's also a big focus on trying to lower those deployment costs we just talked about and making the systems more energy efficient. That's becoming increasingly important.
And is it getting more competitive?
The report expects competition to heat up. That huge demand for high-speed, low-latency, energy-efficient networks is attracting attention. It even specifically mentioned one company, Optical Cables, expanding into passive LAN components as an example of growing activity.
So innovation continues, competition likely increasing.
Seems to be the picture. They're trying to make the tech not just better, but also cheaper and easier to roll out, especially if they want to capture more growth in developing markets.
Right. Okay, let's try and wrap this up. We've covered a lot of ground. What are the main takeaways from this deep dive into the POL market report?
I think the headline is just the sheer scale and pace of growth. We're talking about a market going from what, USD 44.5 billion now to over USD 230 billion by 2033. That's huge.
Driven by this fundamental shift towards fiber optics everywhere.
Exactly. It's the backbone for so much of our digital activity, and demand is just insatiable across almost every sector and region.
And while North America leads in size today, Asia-Pacific is just rocketing ahead in terms of growth rate, fueled by those big digital initiatives.
That regional dynamic is really interesting. It shows how widespread this transformation is. Understanding these trends, the drivers, the specific tech like GPM versus EPON, the applications, it's pretty crucial for anyone involved in technology, business, or just curious about where connectivity is going.
Yeah, it gives you real insight into the infrastructure underpinning, well, almost everything now. The variations in growth, the different policy pushes. It paints a complex but clear picture.
Definitely.
So final thought then. We've looked at these projections out to 2033, this massive growth based on current trends. But technology doesn't stand still. Looking even further ahead, what kind of future network innovations do you think might be the next big disruptor? Maybe even changing the game beyond what POL represents today.
Ooh, that's a great question to ponder. You start thinking about things further out, maybe developments in quantum networking, or perhaps entirely new physics-based ways to transmit data that we haven't even fully conceptualized yet. Could technologies like that eventually make even today's fiber seem slow?
Ye-
It's certainly possible. The pace of change is relentless.
It really is. Food for thought, definitely. Well, that brings us to the end of this deep dive. We hope you found this exploration of the passive optical LAN market insightful.
Thanks for joining us.